Flight Boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind Eminent Terry's Moon, Flight Boss, the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucker responsibilities. And right now, I want to talk about the ancient pyramids of Giza, or Giza, or whatever y'all want to call it, and why they are aligning with the stars of Orion. Now, I want to bring this perspective here and present a perspective so you can understand what's kind of going on. Because what's happening is, what I did a little astral traveling, and I went to the past as a spirit, and I seen what took place at that time. Now, when we want to talk about the pyramids, what we need to understand is the pyramids wasn't built. The pyramids was actually carved. Now, I went back to these times, and the way y'all perceiving things in this time, it wasn't the beginnings of the pyramid being built wasn't the way y'all perceiving it, like it was some big blocks somewhere or this, that, and the third. What was it was a landscape, a landmass, or something that's relative to like a mountain or something like that. Just like a landscape, a landmass or something, and it was carved and etched out. Now, this was when shaping and carving was the first art, or was the first concept, because they was just getting into the concept of the cobalt mines. When this was their form of work, breaking up blocks and with them type of hammers and this, that, and the third. So shaping and forming in order to present some type of praise was the first way of doing it. Now, getting past that, we're going to understand why it's aligning with the stars of Orion, because then you're going to have to ask these kind of questions. Is it a coincidence? Is it just the simple fact that since we're looking at the pyramids and we're correlating to what the stars is pointing to, that we're giving it this meaning? Or is it the fact that these people at these times had a certain relationship with these stars and actually correlated them and made them align with each other? Now, we need to understand this perspective first, right? All the things that you can't think about, or ideas that you didn't have yet, or that you don't have yet, right? They're not seen. So for an example, the furthest that we can reach as far as our vibrations and things we can tap to as far as what we're channeling, if it's something that's far out of our reach, we won't be able to connect to it or see it. It won't even be in thought or imagination. So a lot of times when we hear things like new discoveries of something, as far as species as below, or as far as new stars as above, what's happening here is this is just our level of consciousness being able to be consciously aware of something we wasn't consciously aware of before. So we're able to perceive new things in new shapes and forms and be able to receive information from it, because we're just now receiving that light and that sound from it. You see what I'm saying? So when we want to go back to these times, there was no concept of the belt or the stars of the three stars that's in the belt of Orion that these pyramids is lining up with. But here how they became to be, how they became a rotation. Now, these three stars actually walk the earth, and they are one of the reasons why the pyramids was carved. The pyramids was carved when they was here, but as they left and ascended, they was able to take a light body. Now, before I get into that, you need to understand this concept first. This is the concept you need to understand right here. Think about everybody who then passed on, or think about everybody who has passed on, and left something behind. Or think about just people who are still here, but they're the most memorable people, right? They have some type of structure, some type of art, some type of shape and form that represents them, that got paid a lot of attention to. So since this person was vibrating so high at a high frequency, they was able to manifest a lot of energy by being paid attention to from people in their lives, right? So all that energy, they was able to take that and create some type of source or resource out of it, some type of shape and form out of it. And that shape and form becomes the representation of how big this person was or how prestigious this person was. This is why you got statues and things. Statues ain't nothing but miniature versions of what the pyramids is. And when you look at a statue, that's a carving. But before we get into that, you need to understand, when you think about celebrities who have had, like Michael Jackson, people remember Michael Jackson because of what? His music. So he has something here that was big to represent him. So since it's just a small form of music, you see what I'm saying? Him being an oversoul, or him or you being able to see him as an actual star, because he was a star down here, maybe a little far-fetched, because he wasn't as big as a person who can control a large masses. See, well, a person who's a musician and very powerful, they're still not in no real control. They're still signed and backed and controlled by corporations and things of that nature. And the elites is the people who have the real power, people who created the language that a large mass of people use. These are the people who got real power. These are the people who will die in sin, and you will actually see them in this rotation, because they have figured out how to handle a large amount of responsibility with their source, and they're able to, their shapeless, formless, their spirit becomes way bigger to take a bigger vessel and a lighter body. But before we get there, now let's look at, now that you understand that, you kind of understand, okay, how people is remembered, because they got something here to represent them. Now look at the 3 stars that the pyramid is lining up with, right? Now these 3 stars were pharaohs, but these were some of the hardest motherfuckers in the world. You see what I'm saying? They controlled, and they was way bigger than your average musician, your average actor, your average president or queen or king. These pharaohs controlled just basically the world itself. You think we trying to get to a one world government now, or you think we already in that now? Back then, it was what it was. So when you look at these powerful people, right? I don't necessarily know their names back then, but the names we will call them now, or the fixed stars that align, that the fixed stars, the name of the fixed stars of the Orion belt now is Mintaka, which is Mintaka, Al-Nilam, which is Alnilam, and Altak, which is Alntak. And these pharaohs, or powerful people, walked the earth, and their presence, or whatever that they was doing, was so impactful, or their rulership or whatever was so impactful and so large that when they died and ascended, you always gonna see something that represent them on this earth. You think Tupac music is long lasting. Just think about whatever energy, frequency, vibration they put on this earth. It's so much long lasting to the point that civilization after civilization can sit here and actually point to the actual frequency vibrations of where this energy coming from. So when we see the reason why the pyramids is made, we look at the alignment of it, and it point directly to motherfucking stars we can actually see. So these motherfuckers was so much of an influence and created so much of an experience on this earth that they manifested their light source in a way that we can actually see the reflection of it down here. That's how much vibration, that's how much energy those 3 motherfuckers put down here. See, that's how you gotta look at it. So the pyramids, so I went in these times, I had to go back in this time and figure this shit out. Like, hold on, what the fuck was going on? So what's happening is, you got a situation like, y'all ever seen The Lion King? When Simba was put up to the sun. Now you know that little cliff that they was on? Now these were the kind of landscapes and things of that nature back in these times. Now we was just starting to create concept of art, and we wasn't dealing with ink or nothing like that. So we was dealing with working everyday cobalts and shit like that. So you know what I'm saying? One slick ass motherfucker came up with some creative ass way to carve shit. Nigga was drawing shit into the walls and shit. And everybody was like, yeah, this nigga started making mad coins and mad rocks and crystals and shit from that shit. Nigga was getting rich off that shit. You know what I'm saying? I had to put myself into being back in these times. Nigga getting rich off carvings and shit. So, you know, he taught a lot of people how to draw and shit on walls based upon the shit we was hammering and using at work. So we start to utilize that shit, and based upon these three pharaohs, these three rulers, you know what I'm saying, to please them, we was taking landscapes and all of us was coming together. A lot of us was forced though, but for the most part, it wasn't looked at it like that. But you could say it was kind of like slaves, but it was kind of like how y'all look at it like now. Y'all got jobs, but that's slavery. But you still get paid, you still eat. That's how they looked at it then. So then, boom, they just going around carving, carved out the motherfucking carved out the pyramid or whatever like that. So as above, so below. So once these motherfuckers passed on, that energy, frequency, vibration that they left on the earth, people always praise that shit or whatever like that. And then once civilizations, once there's so many frequency vibrations getting put into that energy, right? Once we start to get into shit and realize new shit, we end up being consciously aware of stars that it's pointing to. Then shit get added on and shit. See, this is, we have to understand that there's truth knowledge in the energy realm, which is physical. The physical realm knowledge will be like time, date, history. You know what I'm saying? Lineage. Linear. Then you have the soul knowledge. The soul knowledge is like vibrations, feelings, emotions. That's soul truth. So physical truth is time, lineage, history, things of that nature. The soul truth is vibrations, things you resonate with. You see what I'm saying? But spiritual truth is myth, mystery. This is how we understand spiritual truth. So when you hear things like myth may not be truth in the physical realm, but myth is true in the spiritual realm. You see what I'm saying? What's true in the physical realm ain't true in the spiritual realm. Spiritual realm is the frequency, the vibration. The vibration is true in the physical and the spirit. The vibration, the soul realm, the yin realm, that's true in the yang realm, which is the energy realm, and the spirit realm, which is the unconscious realm. You see what I'm saying? So the vibration, that's what you resonate with. So you can resonate with the spirit and resonate with the physical, and play that balance. But for the most part, when we get to the physical truth will never correlate with the spiritual truth. But the soul truth know how to combine the two. So it plays out and create organs in you, like the third eye and shit like that. But that's getting into another video. But that's letting you know that the pyramids wasn't built, they was carved, and they was here to worship the three beings that was here, that was very powerful beings, and they created such a experience here, whether it was bad or good or whatever. The influence came civilizations later that man was able to realize that these things is pointing to actual stars, which really is these motherfuckers. Flight boss, bitch, goddamn air. And they have ascended.